next year, pool up until it's cleaned, until it's filled with water, which is, as soon as you turn the water on, it costs the city $4,300 to $4,500 in the water bill. There has never, ever been a guarantee that when you hit that start button, that pool is going to operate properly because it is so old. Over the years, we've replaced many of the major mechanical issues with it. But when there's a pump and a motor involved, sitting for 3 years, this could always be an issue. So I think you're doing the wise thing and just discussing it, not making any announcement. That being said, normally camp would open probably when the playground program does, July 6th of this year. If you make a decision tonight, which you said you're not going to do, you got to give yourself 2 weeks to get that pool ready and prepared to go, which would bring you somewhere to the middle of July, which would only give you about 5 weeks before the children return back to school. I just wanted to enlighten you on some of the things that you should consider. I was involved with the pool for many years. It's not just turn on the switch and have clear water. It's very much involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Liberatore. Appreciate your comment. Mr. Piver, can you bring in the next person who has their hand up? Hi, Carmen Pierre.
Hi, yes, Carmen Pierre Cannell.
Hi, good evening. The floor is yours. Name and address for the record.
Yes, 195 Newman Ave in East Providence.
Okay, go right ahead.
All right, so I'm here to just speak on behalf of doulas and the importance of women, expecting mothers to have access to doulas during their pregnancy and during their birth experience. A lot of people are just starting to understand even what a doula is. I just gave birth to my daughter about 4 months ago, and I happen to be financially able to afford a doula and to have been well-read and connected to other people who knew what a doula was. And there's so many families, women who don't know what a doula is and who maybe cannot afford doula services. So I just wanted to share my experience quickly as you guys discuss how to support supporting women to be able to access this when they are pregnant and giving birth. One of the things, I'm a Black woman, but I would say that all women need access to this, but especially as a Black woman in our healthcare system, I did not have faith or confidence in our healthcare system that I would be able to get the kind of service I needed during my pregnancy or during the birth. It's a very vulnerable time for women. It's a very scary time to be giving birth. Your body is transforming in ways you don't even know that it's possible to do. And to have the support of a doula, both for emotional support, physical support, it's just really was transformative for my husband and my family. And so I am just a really big proponent of that. I think that it can really help to lower some of the complications we see women having with pregnancies and giving birth if more people have access to doulas. And so I'm just a really big proponent of that. And I just wanted to share that as you all are considering how that could support, help your constituents.
Okay, thank you very much. And congratulations on the birth of your daughter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Piver, you can bring in the next person that has their hand up. Mr. Paiva, do you see anybody with their hand up? I do see a City of Cranston. Not sure who that is. Did we
I
lose?
do. I am trying to promote them to a panelist, but I don't know if their connection is weak, but they're not rejoining as a panelist.
Okay.
Trying to promote them to a panelist, but I don't know if their connection is weak, but they're not rejoining as a panelist.
So whoever is on the call from the City of Cranston, if you want to call in or log back on, certainly give you a second bite at the apple under the second portion of public comment if you're having technical difficulties. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on a docketed matter? Now is the time. Raise your hand or press *9 to unmute. Mr. Paiva, do you see anybody?
I do not.
At this time, I will close public comment on docketed matters. Moving on to resolutions. We have a resolution urging the General Assembly to pass House Bill 5929, the Doula Reimbursement Act, sponsored by Councilwoman Germain, co-sponsored by Councilwoman Renzulli. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second under discussion. Councilmember Germain.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution came with a lot of passion because before I was a council person, I was working with a lot of advocates on behalf of the doulas, and as myself experiencing giving birth and know firsthand how important it is to have really culturally competent support. Sometimes when you are really a Black woman or a low-income family woman, and you need that support, you need to have someone that can understand you, that can support you, that know when you say you are in pain and they don't look at you, say you can stand it, you can bear pain. So I know how it is important to have doula services. And unfortunately, as Mrs. Pierre Canel mentioned, not every woman can afford to have a doula. That's why we've been working on this bill to ask the General Assembly to make doula coverage on the Medicaid and private insurance. Fortunately, the budget was voted last week, where doula services is covered under Medicaid right now. That's a great step, but it's not covered under private insurance. So what we ask the General Assembly is to consider to pass this bill and to allow every woman, regardless their income, can afford doula. The doula services can be covered. So doula services is not only for Black women, but Black women and low-income family are the ones that cannot afford it. So doula has been always there, but only people who can afford it that have these services. So what I would like to ask you tonight is to please to vote for this resolution, urging the General Assembly, it's time to pass the doula bill. So we've been asking for it for the past 2 years. The Senate passed this bill twice already, and we applaud the work of the activists, of the sponsor of the bills doing at the Senate level, but it was sitting at the Finance Committee. And finally, last week, it was voted out the committee, the Finance Committee. So we want now to see a full vote at the State Assembly. So that's what the resolution is for. We have a lot of report that shows women who experience doula services during pregnancy, labors, and the postpartum have better health outcome. And it's not a surprise to know 3 to 4 Black women are more likely to die than a white woman due to pregnancy-related complications. So if we want to work to stop those gaps, so we need to help them to really have the reproductive health in a way that is equitable and equitable. Thank you, and I wish that you pass this resolution tonight.
Thank you, Council Member Jermaine. Council Member Renzulli.
Hi, thank you. So I think that most people on this call probably don't know exactly what's stated in the first line of this resolution, that in the United States, American women are dying of pregnancy-related complications at a higher rate than in any other developed country in the world. I know when I tell people that, they're often surprised. And so I think that it's really important that we all get on the same page and realize that that is happening right here in our country with, you know, all women at higher rates with women of color and at higher rates with women who are carrying multiple, twins, triplets. So I agree with Denise how this is extremely important. I myself, if you don't know, have twins and was lucky enough to have a doula purely because I had a friend who was studying to become one. I couldn't afford one either. And I did have complications in my births where after having my second child, I bled 5 times more than you're supposed to. And I think that if I didn't have a doula, I could have been, you know, in a much worse situation because I had someone there to advocate for me and to help. So there's no question that this bill will save lives and be good for women of color and women carrying multiples, but it also makes strong economic sense because women who use doulas require fewer expensive medical interventions during childbirth, which will save them, hospitals, and insurers, you know, a ton of money. So this makes sense financially and from a health perspective. I just have a couple of things that I wanted to add, Anise, if that was okay. So a couple of amendments. Would I do that now, President?
Yeah, you can make them now if you'd like.
Or do you want me to let other people speak first if someone wants to speak?
Doesn't matter to you if
I
you
would-
want. Yes?
Yes, if there's somebody want to talk left first, let me think, and then we can make the amendment at the end.
Okay, we can do that.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we can definitely. Are you good, Council Member Renzulli?
Mhm.
Okay, I will move on to Council Member Ferry.
Thank you, Council President. If I could direct a question to either sponsor of the bill. So I do believe that this has already passed in the Senate, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so do you know what the status is with the House at this time?
Actually, it's up for a vote at the full house.
Right now, it's up for a vote with the full House?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Council Member Vargas.
Thank you, Council President. Yes, it's actually placed on the House calendar for the 29th, by the way, Council Member Ferry, the bill. So in a nutshell, if the Rhode Island State Senate bill passed, and if that very same original version on the House side passes, then at that time, it has to be identical bill. Then at that time, it goes to the governor's office for final approval, and then it becomes law. But there's a sub A, and so if there's language that's a little bit different, then that'll have to be voted on and probably then take back to the Senate side as well. So, but it is coming before the House tomorrow. So I'm kind of just an update on that end. I do want to thank both councilwomen for introducing and encouraging the General Assembly to pass this bill. And pretty much as the resolution kind of states, very similar language as what's on Planned Parenthood as well, that is actually indicated right on there. which is pretty much, a doula is not just, during your pregnancy, but it obviously also a support system even after the pregnancy as well, during childbirth. And it obviously provides, as noted, just emotional support. So I think that's all extremely important on that end. And so I really think this is extremely important. I, as a matter of fact, am hoping now that, that the bills that do pass for private insurance coverage to be mandated as well. I think that's the big advocacy going on at the State House right now, as far as some organizations and individuals that I know personally, they're advocating for this just because the budget was passed, which included Medicaid funding of fraternal doula services. But again, we do need it to pass a private insurance coverage so it can be mandated as well. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But either way, I appreciate the person who just testified before us this evening. And if the two sponsors of this resolution allow me to, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. I'm also hoping that I can listen to Councilwoman Renzulli's amendments, because I actually would like a copy of this to go to the governor's office, to the sponsors of the bills if possible as well on there. It may be, who knows, a little too late or not, just because this is coming before for tomorrow. But either way, I would encourage that we also have the House bill number and even the Senate number on this resolution, as we have with all the other resolutions when we pass, just so there's a straightforward line of communication when the state side ends up receiving the resolution. So I will make that in a form of a motion. I'm not sure if that was Councilwoman Renzulli or one of her amendments, but I certainly think that would be just a suggested recommendation on my end. Thank you. Thank you again to the both of you, by the way.
Councilmember Vargas, do you have a motion that you would like seconded?
Was that one of your amendments, Councilwoman Renzulli? I'm just making sure. If not,
No, that was not. If you have the numbers, that's helpful. I think I only have the Senate one in front of me.
Yeah, so the Senate was 0484 substitute A on there. And on the House side is 5929, and we should definitely add on their substitute A to the language. As far as the amendment in which line item within this actual resolution it would go to, I would encourage you to probably go line between, right, starting maybe end of 48, line 49 or so, to pass the Doula Reimbursement Act, and maybe in parentheses add those House and the Senate bill.
I'd agree.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So bear with me. So do I just say I'd like to put in a motion to add the two bill numbers on line 49? Does that make sense? Or anyone feel free to chime in?
Oh, it makes sense to me.
Okay.
Doing great.
So motion to add on line 49 after Doula Reimbursement Act, after the word act, maybe in parentheses, add H 5929 substitute A, and Senate Bill 0484 substitute, or we can just do it Senate 0484 on there if possible. So that's a form of my motion. If anyone would like to second that.
Second.
Second.
We have a second. Discussion now on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Councilmember Marino, do you have a discussion on the amendment or on the actual bill?
On the actual bill.
All right, I see no discussion on the amendment. Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Councilmember Vargas, do you have any other amendments or comments?
If again, Councilwoman Zuli or Jermaine, I'm not sure if you were gonna do this amendment. I obviously would allow you to do it. If not, I can, it's pretty much just to add a copy of the resolution to be also transmitted to the sponsors of the bill and the governor as well.
Yes.
Okay, so motion to add a copy of the resolution to the governor and sponsors of both the House and the Senate bills.
Do we have a
Second.
second? Okay, we have a second. Any discussion on this amendment? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, amendment passes. Councilman Vargas, do you have anything else?
No, those were the other two. I'll defer to everyone else on mine, to any one of you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you again to the both of you.
Thank you, council member. Council member Marino.
Thank you, Council President. I would just like to thank Council women Anise, Jermaine, and Nicole Renzulli for bringing forth the resolution, and thank the state for taking the initiative, and hopefully they'll bring this full to home plate. It's a positive step forward for women's health, and it just makes sense. So, and the other thing I will mention, there is a disparity with respect to healthcare, not just on this issue, but on other issues as well. But this is this makes perfect sense. So I'd be happy to be added as a co-sponsor as well, if you would
Yes.
be so welcoming. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion before we pivot back to Councilmember Renzulli's amendments? There being none, Councilmember Renzulli.
Okay, thank you. So just, I just like to insert something, I guess, line 18, if I could, to have it say, whereas the occurrence of severe maternal morbidity and maternal death is significantly higher among twin and other multiple pregnancies compared to singleton pregnancies with worse perinatal outcomes. I don't know if I have to repeat that word.
Motion
or send it
approved.
to Rose.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, did you get all that? Would you like it repeated one more time?
Yes, if you don't mind, Councilwoman.
Okay. Whereas the occurrence of severe maternal morbidity and maternal death is significantly higher among twin and other multiple pregnancies compared to singleton pregnancies with worse perinatal outcomes.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Amendment passes. Council member Renzulli.
Okay, and just one more thing. On line 36, after private insurance programs, I would cross out with fewer C-sections and add a comma. And then the language, as studies show, a doula's assistance can prevent complications and significantly lower cesarean and preterm rates, as well as increase breastfeeding rates.
Motion approved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Rose, you want me to repeat that?
No, I'm okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, that's it.
Any other discussion on this amendment? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, now we have the motion in the resolution in front of us as amended.
I have, may
Yes,
I, counsel? I have
Yes.
one amendment to do.
absolutely. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. It's not a long, it's at the first line. It's the before maternal is the problem, to make it more clear for everyone to understand, is the problem of maternal and morbidity. The problem, just add the problem of in front.
Okay, which line is
The
that?
first line,
The first line?
yes.
Okay,
The problem of maternal mortality and morbidity.
okay, that's a form of a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, do you have that for line one?
So we're just adding the problem of, correct?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion on the amendment? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, any other amendments? There being none, okay, we have the amended resolution in front of us. Any more discussion on the amended resolution? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Resolution passes. Thank you. Moving on to report of committees. We have the Finance Committee, Council Vice President Brady.
Thank you, Council President. Reports from committee, Finance Committee, June 7th, 2021. There was an ordinance 52102 authorizing the city to apply Eastern and Western police impact fees towards rent. This was sponsored by Councilman Donegan. It passed unanimously in committee, and I urge passage here tonight.
Thank you, Council Vice President. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to
moved.
approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? There, Councilmember Renzulli, do you? Okay, thank you. Oh, Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you, Council President. Just for anyone on the call tonight, what this is it's to apply Eastern and Western police impact fees towards what the city pays for rent for the headquarters of the police department. And what that did was it freed up a few $1,000s for us to be able to move around elsewhere in the budget. This is something that's been done, I think, for the past decade. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Donegan. Any other discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Council Vice President, floor is still yours.
52103, ordinance and amendment to Chapter 5 of the Code of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Business License and Regulations, Firework Vendors. This was sponsored by Councilman Donegan also. This passed in committee unanimously, and I urge passage here tonight.
Thank you, Council Vice President. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
We have a second under discussion. Councilmember Donegan.
Thank you, Council President. Similarly to the last ordinance, this change was approved by the council in the budget during the budget process. This is merely to reflect that change, which would be an increase in firework vendor sales license from $50 to $150 per year. I think it generated a whopping $1,600 in increased revenue.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
yes,
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas, Councilwoman Vargas, Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Motion passes. Council Vice President.
Thank you, Council President. Resolution authorizing real estate tax payments. This passed unanimously in committee, and I urge passage here tonight.
I'll entertain a motion.
motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes,
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas, Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes.
Council President, if I may,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas had some technical difficulty, but she's going to be rejoining.
Thank you very much. We'll keep an eye out for her to rejoin the webinar. Council Vice President, floor is still yours.
Resolution authorizing motor vehicle tax payments. This passed unanimously in committee, and I urge passage here tonight.
motion to approve.
Second,
Under discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes,
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas, yeah, Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan.
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. I think you got two more, Council Vice President.
Thank you, Council President. Resolution authorizing tangible tax abatements. This passed unanimously in committee, and I urge passage here tonight.
motion to approve.
I'm
Second.
sorry, did the vote just take place on the fireworks? I lost entire connection and I'm back on.
It took place a few votes before. Welcome back.
I was voting in support of it for the record. All right,
I think we can make our motion to reconsider and do it again. Once we go through this vote, I'll ask legal counsel.
thank you.
No problem. Do you have a motion in a second on tangible tax abatements? Is that where we are?
Yes,
Okay, any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
yes,
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, Council Vice President, finish up with the tax interest waiver and then we'll pivot back to the fireworks.
Tax interest waiver approvals. This passed unanimously in committee. Urge passage here tonight.
motion to approve.
second,
Okay, any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes,
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, before we go back to the firework vendor, because there was a technical difficulty and we're on Zoom, to Solicitor Angel, can we just note the vote of Councilmember Vargas instead of going back through that process?
You can note that she's in support of it. If you want to re-record the vote, you'd have to entertain a motion to reconsider and then re-vote. Either way, it's the same effect. It's going to pass. It's up to you.
Councilmember Vargas, would you like us to re-vote or just show your support for 521-03?
Is it gonna be time consuming to just do it? I'm sorry. Would you mind?
No,
I
it doesn't
apologize.
matter. If somebody wants to make a motion to reconsider, we can re-vote on it.
Motion to reconsider?
Second.
Second,
Second,
Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, okay, we have
Thank you.
521-03. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Yeah.
second,
A
Motion to reconsider. Is that what we have to do?
We just did that. So this is a motion to approve and a second, which we have on the floor. Any discussion on the fireworks vendor license? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you, Council Vice President Brady, for the report of committees. Moving on to public comment for undocketed items. I will open the floor for public comment. If you would like to speak under this portion of the meeting, just hit *9 or raise your hand if you're in the audience, and we will bring you into the meeting. Mr. Paiva, do you see anyone with their hand up?
Seeing none.
Okay, at this point, I will close public comment for undocketed items. Moving on to election and/or appointment of city officials. Library Board of Trustees, reappointment of Dr. Palermo for a term to expire July 30th, 2024.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Okay, any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
yes,
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes. Okay, moving on, we have the Cranston Historic Cemeteries Commission, appointment of John Hill. This is a council president appointment, and this is a term set to expire June 28th, 2024. I believe this is a recommendation that came to me from the chair of the Historic Cemeteries Commission. No vote is needed, but just for the record. Okay. Moving on to report of city officers, I see none. Moving on to executive communications, we have legal fees report. Are there any questions on the legal fees? No questions or comments? Okay, I will close that. All right, do we have any objection from going back to public comment for undocketed items? I just received a message from Mr. Riley.
No, I was just indicating, excuse me, that Chief of Staff Moretti's hand was raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chief Moretti, I'll go back to you quick and then I'll carry on with my thought. I think you're on mute, Mr. Moretti.
Yeah, right. Council President, please proceed. I'll catch you up on under executive communications if you can come back to that, if that's all right.
Okay, I just wanted to give an opportunity. Carl Santucci from the Conservation Commission has been having technical difficulties with his Zoom tonight. I think he finally just got on the call and he did want to speak under public comment for undocumented items. So if there's no objection, I'd like to open that back up just so we can hear from Chair Santucci. Are there any objections? There being none, Mr. Paiva, can you bring in Carl Santucci? He has his hand up in the waiting room. And I think he was our other city of Cranston that was logged in at the same time, and that was the hang up we were having. Mr. Santucci, you can unmute yourself, name and address for the record, and try and limit your comments to 4 minutes.
Carl A. Santucci, 32 Fernbrook Court, Cranston, Rhode Island.
Okay, the floor is yours.
I am neither an expert on mitigating. The reason why I'm here is for the rodent control. Not an expert on mitigating this, but would state that there may be a few other reasons for what is happening in these areas. I know one of the areas in question is near a pond. I would like to be either consulted or part of this way of mitigating this, or even just for the conservation to be in discussions with anyone that would be working on this, simply because there's ways to eradicate rodents, but there is side effects from many pesticides. So the other thing that could be causing this is height of the gardening season. I notice in a lot of nice neighborhoods, I am a neighbor, I can see Councilman Ferry's house from mine. There's just a lot of activity on that bike path. There's a lot of growth in the city. There's people that have gardens in their yards. Some are larger than others. So my question is, or I plead to the council to just consider the Conservation Commission as part of this method of getting this to a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santucci. I would ask that I could connect you and Director Moretti maybe at some point. If you guys can exchange phone numbers or emails maybe tomorrow, and then figure out how to loop the Conservation Commission in on this.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, since I opened up public comment, I'll give one more bite at the apple to anybody on the call. Anybody else like to speak under public comment for undocketed items? There being none, I will close public comment. Back to executive communications. Director Moretti, the floor is yours. I think you're on mute, sir.
I'm not, sorry about that. Yeah, that's actually the topic I just want to address. As you've heard, there's a pretty deplorable localized condition in the stadium area that we're trying to address from various fronts. Just to give an update with the city's, some of the efforts the city's trying to do, since it's been called to our attention, the city cited an individual in the neighborhood to stop feeding wildlife. That person has been arraigned in municipal court, and it's continued till the next hearing, or pre-trial, I believe it's called, later this week. And we're requesting to a consent agreement for the city or its agents to enter that property, enter onto the property, I should say. And we're doing everything possible legally in this particular case. And we're in the process of trying to assess other issues that perhaps would be in the stadium neighborhood. It's receiving the #1 focus of the administration actually at this point. And we're going to continue with that. We have a comprehensive effort going on with myself as the chief of staff to the mayor. I'm taking responsibility for it, along with Chief of Police Michael Winquist, Director Mason from DPW, David Rodeo from Inspections, Solicitor Millay, certainly the mayor. And I think that's the crew addressing it. This afternoon, Colonel Winquist had a red alert issued in the area within a 2-mile radius of Capitol Street to reach approximately 30,000 contacts. Sounds like a lot of contacts, but as the chief explained it to me, it could be a combination of cell phones, faxes, landlines, etc. So that's going out. Basically, the alert was letting people realize that there's a problem in the area that's been identified and ways that they could help out to lessen further expansion of that issue. So that's happening. We're working on a letter correspondence to go out to I'll say the neighbors or the people in that area. We tried working with the DEM, but DEM doesn't, they tell us they cannot be involved in this issue. Those are some of the key things that we're doing. And we hope to be able to go onto that property if legally permitted. And then our intention is to contract. We feel this problem won't be fixed, certainly in the short term with our baiting program. It's well beyond that, the situation. So we're gonna, on an emergency basis, go out to a reputable extermination company to address the issue in the most professional manner possible and abide by all environmental concerns, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to give you an update that certainly the administration is not taking it lightly, as I've spoken to many of you. Councilman Donegan, thank you for sending along some information. But please give a call if anyone has any particular issues. But I just want to let you know that certainly this is the highest priority at this point. I'll describe it as deplorable. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Moretti. Can you keep this in your communications for the next council meeting to give us another update on how things are going? And then maybe we can get another update a few weeks after that at the August Public Works meeting?
Yeah, sure thing, Council President. My first discussions with an extermination company is there's not going to be a quick fix to this. The words were, given the assessment that I described as a situation, they said it could be several months. So certainly be happy to do it on a monthly basis, as regular as you wish. Happy to do so.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Director. Much appreciated. Do you have any other communications for us?
Well, I know it'll be coming up on the Budlong pool, so maybe we could just address that. Maybe the one thing I do want to address, actually, I failed to mention this. I'm sorry about the rodent issue. There's another measure we're trying to take is deal with, ask Solicitor Malay to look at all our ordinances on the books to see where there's any holes, or to see, I guess, speaking with Director Mason, it's kind of pretty much in some instances, a hodgepodge of ordinances. We want to try to, Solicitor Malay is going to try to spearhead a more comprehensive look at the ordinances on the books. And we invite anyone to participate in those discussions and input. So we can all attack this from a legal perspective. So we welcome your participation and input. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that will conclude executive communications. Moving on to Council President communications. I have some good news as far as returning to chambers. It looks like we're on track to return to council chambers for our meetings on July 26th. There'll be an ordinance committee meeting before the full council. Technology upgrades in chambers have been going well. And that's exciting because we haven't been in chambers in a year and a half, at least. So looking like a July return. That being said, I'd also like to take this opportunity to wish everybody a safe and happy 4th of July, and that we will also be having fireworks in Cranston, first time back in years at the Atwood Avenue Field, thanks to Cranston Cares. That's all I got. Thank you very much. Moving on to council member communications. Councilman Ferry.
Thank you. Just couple of things real quickly. I was kind of hoping that maybe every other meeting or every meeting, we could have an update on a couple of things. And one would be like road paving. I don't know about the rest of the council people, but I get a lot of phone calls from people that want their roads paved. And I know there's a list. I know there's a book with 300 pages in it. I know the roads are all rated. I know all that. But what I don't know is whether or not someone's road is going to be paved. So is it possible that we can have some kind of a list to say to people, look, your road is not going to be paved this year, but it's on the verge of needing it, and it's a possibility it'll happen next time, just so we could give them an educated answer rather than and I don't know, and then I got to send an email to Paula Smith, and then Paula Smith's got to send an email to Ken Mason, and then Ken Mason's got to send an email back to Paula Smith, and then Paula Smith's going to send me one saying that road's not on the list. So that takes 3 days, and then Robert Ferry, has to go back to the person and say, your road's not going to be paved. Well, when is it going to be paved? I don't know. So I'm just asking that, could we have some type of an update, some type of a list? I don't know what the big secret is. I know roads need to be paved. Some do, some don't. So if that could be something we could get, I would really appreciate it. It would help me do my job better. So I don't know how the other council people feel about that. Not trying to cause any trouble here.
Thank you, Councilman Ferry. Director Moretti.
Yeah, there actually, if you believe it or not, there really is no secret. The administration defers to Ken Mason for many, many factors. I believe we discussed various factors that go into his decision-making on what roads. He certainly does have a list. He does things in phases, or we call them rounds. He's got the next round scheduled: Fountain Avenue, Meadow Avenue, Princess, Chestnut, Byron, Pengrove, Webster. So he's got those slated to come up very shortly. But he also has another round that he tentatively has plans for, but he points out that it could change. So that would be I'd say the reluctance. I don't think he's on the call, but because things could change, if you promise people, if you say the road's going to be paved next year or the year after, it's probably hard to say because a lot of factors, as we spoke about, construction. It could go on and on. So what we could do, if this is helpful, we could have the list. Those roads I just mentioned, they're pretty much a lock. But there's several other roads that we have in the last round for the season. Is it okay if you think it's a good idea? I could leave with Director Smith, and she'll have it on hand. If you have any questions, you want to give her a buzz. If you think of another way, that's better. But again, we don't want to get people's, I'll say, hopes up, and then for whatever reasons, Director Mason feels that a street shouldn't be done. I think you just want to add some caution to that. But there's no secret, and happy to cooperate as we reasonably can. And now, so any other ideas are welcome.
A list could be used just as a guide and not as a promise to people. I mean, that would be something that would be helpful. Can we just use it as a guide and say, look, this is how your road is rated, whatever the number is, and there's a possibility it'll get done on the next phase, on the next round, as soon as the money is released, that type of thing. We don't have to say to people, hey, your street's getting paved next month. I would never say that to somebody, but I would say there's a chance that it'll get done next year.
Yeah, we could. Would this be okay if I give this list to Paula, and she could stay with Director Mason for updates? In terms of next year, I can ask Director Mason. I don't know if he's that far ahead in his his work schedule to really do an assessment at this point. We could probably go by that book as to what the worst roads are, but I don't know if he would even be in that position. I'm not saying he's not, but I don't want to volunteer his position, not knowing if there's other factors that are involved. But I do know he referred to that outside document along with the considerations for construction work that's planned over the next year, 2 years, even 3 years. And then I think I mentioned, they try for efficiency purposes, you He tends to cluster streets, as you've seen. So you might get three streets that are in nasty condition and one that's in pretty good shape. Well, he actually might end up doing that one street and that's in pretty good shape, knowing that 3 or 4 years from now would need attention. So there's various factors. So I'm offering to leave the list with Paula. Just so you'll know, is as you've seen, there was probably Ward 2 received the most repaving this cycle. A lot of streets got done there. Ward 3, there's a lot of square yards that plan on being done. I think those are 2 wards with the most paving at projects. And then probably you probably have a combination of would have a few streets in Ward 4, some streets in Ward 1. I think the other wards are pretty much distributed kind of evenly, but I think the particular attention was given to Wards 2 and 3 this cycle.
Thank you very much. Anything you can do would be helpful.
All right, we'll have the list with Mrs. Smith for now, and if you need anything else, we'll try to help you out. And I'll speak to Director Mason if he has any other ideas to help out.
Councilman Riley has his hand up.
Councilman Riley, do you have anything to add on this topic? If not, I think Councilman Ferry has one more item under.
Yes, I did. That's why I had raised my hand.
The floor is yours.
I just wanted to ask Chief Moretti 2 things. One, the list for this year, is that already budgeted for?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
if that list just for that year came out, would you be comfortable having us have that list to work off of?
Yeah, if it changes though, please don't throw it back at us and represent to whoever you're representing. This is what is identified, but not committed.
Now, is this list in sequential order? So if we know that the street is at the bottom of the list, we tell the constituent that there's a possibility that it might not happen?
You know, I think I'd have to defer to Director Mason about sequential order. The list, the way he does this is by geographical area. He doesn't want to pull people, some paving going on one week in Ward 1, throw it over to Ward 4, Weston Cranston. He wants to cluster the movement of equipment. So I'd say it's probably more by ward or by geographical area. I don't know if that answers the question, but as I said, there could be a list and you could be street number 400 on the list, but you might get that road paid if you're number 3 on, because you're surrounded by streets that are rated number 3.
Okay.
That's probably unlikely, but I'm just trying to maybe exaggerate a point.
No, I understand. So if it's not sequential, then we wouldn't be able to make that determination.
You know,
That's fine.
by the way, I think everyone's welcome to have a discussion with Mr. Mason. That's fine too.
Maybe this is something we can add back to the next Public Works docket.
Thank you, Chief.
For August.
Sorry, I couldn't help you any more than I did.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Riley and Councilmember Ferry. Councilmember Ferry, you have one more item on here regarding economic development.
Yes, very, very quickly. I would say that that's probably the second thing I get asked by people a lot is like, if something's going on construction wise or something's being built, it's like, are we gonna have, maybe every couple of months we could have an update as to what's going on in the city as far as economic development goes, like what new projects are being worked on, what new businesses are being drawn to the city, that type of thing. Just as a general information piece, so we can have that information and answer, people with knowledge as to what's going on. I mean, I do get asked that often. I don't know if the other council people do. So if every couple of months we could have an update from the Economic Development Office, that would be wonderful. If not, I'll just call up Director Paulino myself and ask him from time to time what's going on. So I was just wondering if we could do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Ferry. I see Director Paulino's hand up. Mr. Paulino, if you have an update for us, you're more than welcome to have the floor.
Yes. Hello. Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Council President, Council Member. How you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
We're doing very good. Just to give you a little update on economic development, First is Rob Square. As you can see, we have paved the street. We have new lightings, new tree, and we have striped in Rob Square. The small business there are very happy with the project that we have done. After this project, we're gonna be moving up to Knightsville. I already have spoken with a lot of the business over there to see what the issues are, the ideas, their concern, and any input that they can have. We will be doing the same thing that we did on Rouse Square. The next project that we have is the ribbon cutting. We have done various bank, including Chase Bank that's coming up with a ribbon cutting in Garden City. We have Navient Bank over in Phoenix Ave and Centerville Bank in Ross Square. We also have a realty company coming in, especially we did one this past Saturday, Real Pearl by the Sea, which was very nice over in Patuxent Village. Also, we have other ribbon cutting, Crespi Corner in Patuxent Village. And we have Knightsville also, Cellar Rose. As far as Top Golf, we're just waiting for the field hospital so they can move, and maybe in October, we're probably gonna be doing some groundbreaking. On another note, we are helping a small business with a special grant that we have for $1,000. That's for small business that they're gonna get reimbursed for COVID supply. And maybe next week, we are working on a new grant for small business for $2,500. And that's gonna be more for technical assistance and getting, hiring new employees. That's what we have so far, as far as that for now in the economic development.
Thank you very much for your information.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Director Paulino. Council Member Renzulli, do you have a follow-up?
So mine was actually going back to the roads. So if anyone has anything to say about what Director Paulino just said, they can go first, but just something I wanted to offer.
Okay, anybody have any questions or comments for Director Paulino? Oh, Director Moretti?
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, I just want to mention, Councilman Ferry, perhaps quarterly, I think every couple of months, this, how do I say, I don't want to say this development doesn't happen, economic development, I don't think doesn't change that much in a 2 months time span, frankly. I think if maybe quarterly, I think it might be more practical that perhaps Director Paulino could give an update.
That sounds great.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Any other questions or comments for Director Paulino? There being none, sir, thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. And thank you for
Thank
the
you.
Councilmember Renzulli.
So going back to what Bob mentioned about the roads, I just wanted to offer this to the administration. What they do with it is up to them. But there is something, it's called Google My Maps. We can create your own map essentially with lines noting various streets. So if you color code it based on when something is intended to be paved, whether it's this fiscal year, next fiscal year, however many months you want to do it, it could just be posted on the website and people can look for themselves. And then they don't need to call us, who asked Paula, who called them. And it could be updated live by, I'm assuming there's some kind of administrative assistance within Director Mason's department. And it just makes it, transparent without there being a ton of back and forth between people, because I know that wastes time, for everyone. So the more power we can give our constituents to look things up themselves, I think that'd be better for everyone. And I do see that other cities do this, so it obviously works somewhere. So I don't know, so we don't have to recreate the wheel. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on under Council Member Communications, Council Member Marino.
Thank you, Council President. This evening, as my communication, I had mentioned the status of the Budlong Pool. Earlier this month, earlier in June, actually just before it had hit the news, I had reached out to Director Moretti with regard to this issue, having heard from some residents and recognizing their concern was legitimate. I understand and appreciate the administration's, earnest attempts to look into this issue during that time frame. And I also understand the obstacles in the way. I know that I've represented to members in the community. I have not provided them with, false assurances that that this was going to be able to happen this year, but that we would make every effort to try to make it happen. And what some members of the public may not be aware of is that our budget, begins April 1st, unlike other cities and towns. Providence is later, and we were faced with the issue of the COVID restrictions. And at that time, going back to April 1st, we had no reason to think that there would be such a change. And we were expecting that it would be like last year. I think that was pretty much where all of our minds were. What I look forward to tonight, I think it's good for the community, is for the administration to have the opportunity to set forth, what efforts they've made, and also on a go forward basis. I think it's important that we make every effort next year to have this not be the case. And I understand that there are going to be some question marks as to the condition of the pool, given that it hasn't been operational for the last 2 years. So it'll be all the more important that it's addressed very early on in the season, as early as possible. And, we can work with the Parks and Rec department along those lines. But, maybe as early as April, just doing an inspection in terms of the condition of the pool itself before then having it filled, so we don't run into this issue. I would hate for next year, to be telling the residents again that, hey, we can't open the pool. That would just be unfair. The Budlong pool is a treasure. It's a give. It's nostalgic. It's historic. And, the people deserve that from us if we can make that happen. And I know I'll pledge to, to make every effort, but it's not up to us as individual members of council. It's up to the administration. It's going to take all of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Council Member Marino. Director Moretti, do you have any update on the pool or anything to add? I think you're on mute, sir.
I'm 3 for 3 strikes, I'm out. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Marino and actually every council person for sharing in this decision and for being supportive and understanding of the situation. Certainly, as Councilwoman Marino said, none of us thought that the restrictions would have been eased as rapidly as they did soon after the budget process. Well, that being said, sure, it'll cost a bunch of money to try to get it up and running as unbudgeted. But despite that, we're still looking into the possibility of opening the pool. I can tell you the mayor would love to have that pool open, but the barriers there is a financial barrier to it, as we all know, but an economic factor out there. And I think if we're watching the news and some people are experiencing this personally, is hiring lifeguards. It's all over the news about hiring people for the state. Director Tassaglia has been, doing what he could to look into the possibility of but even the hiring. I say it's a combination between the hiring process for recruiting lifeguards in particular, but then also other pool attendants at this stage. I think it'd be really hard. In terms of, so that's really where it's at. It's going to be very difficult to do, and I just want to point out with Mr. Liberatore's comments, I think that pretty much supports where things are. And I think the thing to note is that even if we would have to get the pool pretty much up and running as Mr. Liberatore described, At that point, you really could test the mechanics of the pool. So something could be wrong, but maybe things would be, would be okay. But logistically, it's gonna be very difficult financially, and probably the biggest factor is actually hiring lifeguards. And what comes first, chicken or the egg? Do we get the pool up and running without the staff, or do we try to hire the staff and not have the pool up and running? So it's a catch-22. What the mayor would like to do, and as I mentioned before, certainly not gaining that pool experience outdoors, but he is looking into the possibility of using Parkview School, work with the school department, and superintendent is fine with us using the pool. And if we could get lifeguards, that's really what it comes down to now. So unfortunately, there was a death in Director Tasaglia's family, immediate family. So he's out for a few days, but the mayor is, asking him to see if we could do something. Maybe something's better than nothing, to utilize the Parkview School. So we'll see where that goes. But certainly it's a disappointment for everyone, and we thank everyone for understanding. And unfortunately, that's the update.
Thank you, Director Moretti. Any other questions or comments on the pool before we move on? There being none, Council Vice President Brady, did you have something for us?
I do, Council President. Just want to elaborate on what you said about the fireworks. Very excited for the city of Cranston, and truly appreciate all the sponsors that donated to make this a reality on behalf of Sergeant Adam DeCiccio, who we lost earlier this year tragically. In addition to that, I just wanted, while we have Franklin on the call, Franklin, I've been seeing you popping left and right everywhere I'm at, ribbon cutting, new business, talking to restaurants. Keep up the great work. I see you everywhere. Quick question on, I know we did establish during COVID, which fortunately we've made some great strides here, since, we'll be reopening back in council, but we did establish a small business advisory committee. I wasn't sure if that's something that we planned on now that we have all appointed someone, maybe setting up a meeting for August, just to kind of get feedback of the struggles that businesses maybe still have, even though we're out of the pandemic, but we're still kind of in it. As a business owner myself, I certainly understand the daily struggles that we're still going through. So I guess I wanted to see if we have an update on that.
Thank you, Council Vice President. Director Paulino, are you still on the call with us? Director, if you can hear us and you're on the call, you can unmute.
I can ask him offline, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be great for the goal to try to get an August meeting set up for the new task force and get it rolling and hearing from the business owners that we all appointed. So thank you, Council Vice President, for bringing that up and to our attention. Anything else, sir?
That is all for my at the moment, Council President. Thank you. And if I could just briefly say, as we just heard, with Mr. Tasaglio, I'm very, very sorry for his loss on behalf of all of us. So
thanks for saying that. I'm very, very sorry for your loss, Director Tasaglio. Okay, Councilmember Renzulli.
I don't know if I can ask this or not, because it's not listed, so you can just tell me no. I was just wondering, since Director Strom is here, if there's any kind of update we could have on the APRA money coming in and anything regarding that. Is that appropriate to ask?
Councilwoman, this is Bob Strom. The information I have right now is that we are in the process of calculating, based on our CAFRA report, using fiscal year 19 as the base year. It's called NTP2. It's on page 141. You use that as your base year, and you compare it to your revenues. The actual revenues are 20. And if you use the 4.1%, which is the formula, For the year 19 to 20, we have a gain of about $3,663,000 in revenue eligibility. And what I'm doing now that we're in the process of closing out 21, I want to see how that follows with this 4.1% formula as well. And that'll determine, the monies, and I believe just from the revenue standpoint, we should come in pretty well considering what we budgeted for 22, which was, as you know, 7.8 million. We should be in pretty good shape to cover those, that line item. So we're still in the process. We still have our weekly meetings, but we did get the money in. And in fact, based on my conversation or discussion, I think at the last meeting with Councilwoman Vargas, I invested the money short-term, naturally, with 2 banks, and we are eligible to generate revenue from the interest that we receive to go as part of that ARP money. In addition, there are some things that have changed. It looks like we may be able to use some money for our OPEB, where before they said that they didn't think that would be allowable. It's not allowed for pensions, but it can be, I believe, from what I'm reading, for OPEB. That could help us with our liability because, as you know, in 21 we reduced it by 50%, then in 22 we've increased it. I could possibly go back and bring 21 back to the full 100% contribution, and then continue, obviously, based on our budget for 22. So there's still parts that we're working on, but as we continue, I will keep the council informed of how and what the qualifications are and what we would like to use it for.
Okay, thank you, Director. Do you have any update on the money that we'd be getting from the state? I think it's upwards of $42 million under what the state's going to give us through APRA, but we're not going to get it in the first round.
Yeah, right now, this week, I believe, starting tomorrow, they're going to be sending monies out to non-entitled communities, meaning the other municipalities. As you know, the state's taking care of them, except for 6 of us, which we did get the money from the feds. And as far as the other money by county, based on the discussion with Steve Coleman from Municipal Affairs, there's been no determination of when that money is going to be released.
Okay, but the $42 million, that's just from the state, not the county, right? The one that's listed, we're just we are entitlement, so we're not getting it yet.
I think, well, no, I think when you speak of the 42, I think you're speaking of the 27 million from the feds and 15 from the state. And that doesn't include the money that the school's getting. This is separate.
Yes, I know that.
No, because I believe our allocation by county is 15 million. We did receive 13 change. We're going to receive in a year the balance of the other 13 change, which would bring us to the 27 million. That's directly from the feds. We're supposed to be receiving 15 million from the state, but that has not been determined when they're going to release that yet, and that's predicated on the county.
Okay. And do we know, and this might be a question for the administration, I know in other municipalities, they are forming task forces and just different groups trying to figure out how to spend this money. Are there plans for us to do that at all, or we just kind of, going with the flow?
I mean, from my standpoint right now, we're just, I'm just going along with other finance directors in the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, and I'm my goal is obviously to make sure that the money we budgeted for 22, that 7.8, will meet that goal. And then if there is other monies, that's something that the administration would look at and, have communication, I would assume, with the council as well.
Okay, thank you.
Director Moretti?
Yes, just to add to Director Strom's comments. Obviously, he's speaking with all his contacts. The financial end of the League of Cities and Towns, the administration is continually, weekly, bi-weekly, having meetings with the League of Cities and Towns to discuss this topic as one of the agenda items. That's being the case. We're in very close contact with Mayor Picozzi, what they're hearing in Warwick. So we're not trying to just go along, if you will. So we're intimately involved, I guess, with other communities and looking at seeing what they're up to and how we could use the money. So we're taking advantage of this, I'll say, statewide resources.
Thank you, Director Moretti. I'd like to make a suggestion, if possible, to our Council Vice President Brady, Director of Finance. Can you put this on your August docket so we can have a little more of an in-depth discussion on these funds and be on a docket for discussion?
Absolutely, Council President. I don't know if Rose needs to note that or what would you like me to do from here, but absolutely.
Thank you very much, sir. Any other questions or comments from council members? There being none, am I missing anybody? There being none, I will close council member communications. Moving on to council business matters carried over. We do not have any. Introduction of new business matters before the council. The following matters before us are being referred for a public hearing to the appropriate subcommittee of the council. They are listed here below. There are 3 ordinances here going to the ordinance committee that will be held on July 26th, 2021, before the full council meeting. I'll entertain a motion to send the new matters to committee.
Motion to send the new matters to committee.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady,
Yes.
Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, I see no miscellaneous business on the clerk's desk. The city council's next regular monthly meeting will be held on July 26, 2021. That being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Marino,
Yes.
Councilman Ferry,
Yes.
Councilwoman Renzulli,
Yes.
Councilwoman Vargas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jermaine,
Yes.
Councilman Donegan,
Yes.
Councilman Riley,
Yes.
Council Vice President Brady, Council President Paplaskas.
Yes, we are adjourned. Have a great 4th of July, everyone.